Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbia, the church that never closed but is gathering online because we believe in the power of our interconnection and in the worth and dignity of every human life. It is good to be together this morning, remembering that the church is not a building, but a community of people who are committed to loving this world more fully and growing in spirit together. We are so glad to have you with us this morning from wherever you are joining us. We know that we have lots of folks joining us from Columbia and Boone County, but also from across the country. And we thank you for joining us. We welcome you. If you are visiting with us today for the first time, or if you're visiting and you haven't yet filled out one of our digital visitors cards, I'm going to post the link now in the comments and invite you to go fill that out if you would like at some point, and let us know a little bit about you and what you're interested in learning about our community. I don't know why I'm having trouble posting that, but I'll get it done eventually. Okay. Want to thank this morning all those who make our online worship possible. Of course, our amazing staff. I'm the Reverend Molly Housh Gordon, minister of the congregation. Our religious education director, Jamila Batchelder, is with us. Our music director and collaborative pianist are with us. That's Jeremy Wagner and Hans Bridger Heruth. We give thanks for our assistant, April Rodiguero, who helps us with things behind the scenes. And then, of course, for all the volunteers who help make our work possible. Particularly thank you to our tech hosts who have helped us figure out how to do online worship and keep it all running. This morning, we have Jackie Bell helping with our slideshow and Dottie Matthews helping with the chat. Do feel free to let Dottie know in the chat if you need anything or have any questions. We are worshiping on our Zoom worships webinar setting, which means that we can't see you. Your video won't suddenly pop up with you on your couch in your PJs. You'll only see and hear from those of us who are leading the service. And we hope that allows you to have a full emotional experience of our worship today, whatever that means for you. And we will be taking the opportunity to see one another, to look at one another's faces in a coffee hour after the service. And we'll post the link to that when we're done with our worship time together. I want to tell you that the way you can interact throughout the service is by using the chat feature. And if you pull up that chat feature, you can speak with everyone by changing your setting to everyone or all panelists and attendees. And that way everyone will see what you have to say. Otherwise, it'll just send it to those of us who are leading the service. And while we are happy to hear from you, I imagine that you might like to be speaking to everyone. I've finally got it so that I can send you that digital visitors card. So that should just pop up in the chat now for those of you who are visiting. And as my last word of welcome, I want to make a very special welcome. Joining us in worship for the first time in this period is our new philosopher in residence for the summer. He's joining us for the summer as philosopher in residence. We are so glad and grateful to have the Reverend Dr. C.W. Dawson with us this summer to offer worship, to offer lots of adult education opportunities. He'll be holding a class every Tuesday evening. The first class is on Black humanism. And he'll also be holding office hours if you want to chat with a philosopher. I think there's lots we all need to chat about with a philosopher in these times. And he'll also be sharing some reflections with us on a weekly basis. So I'm just going to highlight him real quick so that you can say hello, so that he can say hello.
Well, hello, everybody. Hi.
Hello. So we're so grateful that Pastor Dawson is joining us for worship this morning and joining us all summer long as our philosopher in residence. We're really, really excited about this time together. And I am so excited to work with my colleague in ministry in this way. So yay. And we will now settle into the spirit of worship together with a prelude from our musician. Thank you, as always, for the lovely beginning to our service. This morning is May 24th, which this year is a holiday day for our Muslim siblings in faith. Today is Eid, which is the holiday that marks the end of the holy month of fasting, the holy month of Ramadan. And so we send good Eid wishes to our Muslim siblings in faith across the country and world. And in honor of that celebration, I wanted to share opening words by a Palestinian American poet, and then an opening song by a Muslim Sufi, or the words of which are by the Muslim Sufi poet Rumi. And so we honor our Muslim siblings this morning with these two offerings. The poem is Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop, the passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, it is I you have been looking for, and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. As we center ourselves in kindness this morning, let us join with some musicians from another UU congregation who've recorded Come, Come, Whoever You Are for us. The words will appear on the video and they'll sing it in a round for us, so you can choose which part you'd like to join in singing.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, condemn, worshipper, whoever you're leaving, ours is no caravan of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, whoever you are, condemn, worshipper, whoever you're leaving, ours is no caravan of living. Come yet again, come.
We will now light our chalice, the symbol of our faith in the cup of community that holds us always, and the flame of the human spirit that persists despite all odds. You may wish to light a chalice at home, If you have a candle with you, or a digital chalice is in our digital order of service, you can click that link and just click on the chalice to light it, or simply watch me light our church chalice here. And as I do so, let us join in the words of affirmation that we speak together each week. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And let us now center ourselves in this time and place with the help of our Director of Religious Education, Jamila Batchelder.
Good morning. I was thinking about a memory I have from when I was a teenager, and it's one of those memories that's like a photograph in my mind, even though it was a pretty insignificant moment. I was sitting by a creek on a rock, deep in teenage angst, contemplating some drama happening in my life. And I saw up ahead of me some people walking across a bridge, and overhearing a snatch of their conversation and having this realization that they were dealing with their own drama, their own life, that they had their own story, that they weren't just scenery passing through my life. And it's something I think we all know intellectually, but we often forget to remember deep in our souls that each person is as much a person as us. And I think the heart of kindness lies there in remembering that. And so for our centering today, I want us to try to imagine someone who has passed through our lives recently, or who sits on the edge of it, someone who we have forgotten is as much a human as us. And so I want you to imagine that person. And take a moment to imagine your own experiences where you have found happiness, the people that you love deeply, the moments of joy in your life. And now remember that that person, though their experiences are different, have loved people as deeply as you, have had their own experiences of happiness and joy. And now think about times when you have worried, of those things that have kept you up at night. And think about the things that are your deepest fears. And now think of that other person and know that though their fears and worries are different from yours, they have felt that same sensation up late at night. And think of when you have been in pain and when you have suffered. And know that they too have been in pain and they too have suffered. And think of the heartbreak and sorrow that you may be holding. And remember that they too have experienced heartbreak and sorrow. And just take a moment to let your heart beat with their heartbeat.
And some say that this indeed is what it is to pray. to remember the depth of the humanity and experience of each person, to remember the depth of the experience of each being, to remember that we are held in the heart of the universe, who remembers each of us. And it is in that spirit that we join together each week in sharing the joys and sorrows of our community, in holding them together, knowing that our hearts beat with and for and among one another. This morning, I'm going to begin by sharing some joys and sorrows that were submitted at our website. And then after I've read those aloud, we'll join in sharing the joys and sorrows of our community by sharing in the chat. And I invite you to respond to each joy or sorrow with your body in your home, with a hand over your heart for those difficult things, and with celebrations, spirit hands, that we join in one another's joy as well as holding one another in our shared sorrow. So let us join our hearts this morning with Dottie and Rosie, who are grieving with friends from St. Louis, whose adult son died by suicide immediately upon being released from the hospital after a very short psychiatric hold. We hold all of his loved ones and all for whom these stressful times are pushing the boundaries of their mental health. We send wishes for balance and support and proper care. We join our hearts today with Wayne and Carla Anderson and their daughters as Wayne nears the end of his life. We give thanks for Wayne's life. On a small note, we give thanks for a generous final financial gift that Wayne has made to sustain the church through a difficult time. But more than that, we give thanks of the example that is of his lasting commitment to our community. Thanks for his legacy as one of our longest serving members, for his leadership among us, his teaching and serving. We wish Wayne the peace that passes understanding. And we hold his whole family in prayer during this precious and sorrowful time as the end of his long and beautiful life draws near. We join our hearts with all who mourn the death of Chuck Graham, former state senator, powerful disability rights advocate, mentor, friend, beloved husband and stepfather. We hold with many a loss that is both public and very intimate. We particularly hold in heart Chuck's wife, Kate, and his adoptive son, Sky, who is a member of our religious education community. We join our hearts in joy with Kenna Byerly and Jeremy Duke, who celebrate their son Jacob's graduation from Grinnell College. We join our hearts in concern with Mindy McPherson, who shares concern for friends and all who are being affected by flooding and dam breaks in Michigan. On this Memorial Day weekend, we join our hearts in memory for all those lost serving our nation's military. I will end our time of prayer in a moment with a Memorial Day prayer. And also on this Memorial Day weekend, as we near 100,000 lives lost to COVID-19, we grieve both the staggering magnitude of that loss and the aching specificity of each of those deaths, knowing that each one is a world shattered. I now invite you, beloved ones, to share your joys and sorrows in the chat. I will read as many as I can. We share concern for Kira's brother, who is still in the hospital. Joy with Jan Weaver, who has a new grandniece, her dad's 9th great grandchildren. We join with Connie Ordway in a sorrow and a possible joy. Sorrow that son Robbie is currently in a residential facility, and hope that time apart will ease everyone's hearts and remind them all how much they love each other. We join with Tonette, who shares concern for a friend's son who is in the hospital and is having a hard time breathing. We join our hearts with Burr, who has been very sick with a flu and would like to remind everyone it's not only COVID that can injure our bodies right now. We join with Todd, who shares joy of 38 wonderful years married to Candy. Joy with Joy, who starts a new job in a week working in a child abuse prevention program. We join with Karen, who shares joy in wishing big brother Larry Lyle a happy birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Larry. We join our hearts with Elaine, who shares appreciation for yesterday's grieving service as our community holds so many losses right now. We join our hearts with Sarah, who shares joy for baby birds just hatched and chirping away on the porch. We share concern with someone whose friends are in a crisis. We share with Lindsay and family the sorrow of not being able to celebrate Memorial Day with a big picnic as usual, but joy to have had a social distancing visit. I'd like to share my own joy on Friday of the 9th anniversary of my ordination to the ministry, and my joy in serving this wonderful and wild calling and in serving all of you. And I end in prayer with the words of the Reverend Barbara Peskin, who shares this Memorial Day prayer. Spirit of life, whom we have called by many names in thanksgiving and in anguish, bless the poets and those who mourn. Send peace for the soldiers who did not make the wars, but whose lives were consumed by them. Let strong trees grow above graves far from home. Breathe through the arms of their branches. The earth will swallow your tears while the dead sing no more. Never again, remember me. For the wounded ones and those who received them back, let there be someone ready when the memories come, when the scars pull and the buried metal moves. And forgive those of us who were not there for our ignorance. And in us, in a forest of 1,000 fallen promises, let new leaves of protest grow on our stumps. Give us courage to answer the cry of humanity's pain. And with our bare hands, out of full hearts, with all of who we are, let us create peace. Amen. And we're going to sing a hymn together. It's one of my favorites usually, but particularly for this time. My life flows on, an endless song. Jeremy's going to lead us and the lyrics will be on the screen. I invite you to join us in singing from home.
Creation. tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing. When friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are clinging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Amen. Our readings this morning are two short readings selected by Reverend Dr. Dawson, from the first from writings attributed to the Buddha, and the second from the New Testament, Philippians 4:8. First from the Buddha. Just as treasures are uncovered from the earth, so virtue appears from good deeds, and wisdom appears from a pure and peaceful mind. To walk safely through the maze of human life, one needs the light of wisdom and the guidance of virtue. And from Philippians. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is virtuous and praiseworthy, think about such things. And now I very happily give our online pulpit to the Reverend Dr. C.W. Dawson.
Good morning. Thank you for the readings and for being liturgist with me today, Pastor Molly, and to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us in this worship today. I'm a little nervous, so if my voice should crack or you see me move funny, it's just because preaching online is not something I'm accustomed to, but we're going to try. I want to bring our attention today to a book that was written in 1981 by Alistair McIntyre, and it's called After Virtue. And to sum it up, McIntyre suggests to us that the very foundations on which we are standing are crumbling beneath our feet. We've been caught up, he says, in an egoism that it's all about me and not about you. It's all about mine. And so our vocabulary has even changed. We don't talk about us, we, our. We talk now about me, mine, mine. All right. McIntyre in 1981 suggested that our relativism may also have held us in bondage, that folk will say, well, I have my values and you have yours, and as long as I have mine and you have yours, then everything is all right. The problem, of course, is that if it's only about that, then everybody's wrong and everybody's right. Is it possible for us to regain a sense of virtue? And let me be very clear. I'm working on a kind of Aristotelian notion, but it doesn't have to be just that. Virtues such as friendliness, courage, magnanimity, or how about some Christian virtues for those of you who are Christian? How about patience, long suffering, and forgiveness, or even from a Buddhist position, how about things like loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy? Yeah. Virtues. And by definition, I think of virtues, the mean, the middle between two extremes. Courage is the middle between foolhardiness and cowardice. That it's the middle ground between two extremes. And yet it seems like we've lost it. Let me do a couple of them and see if you'll agree with me. I wish I could hear you today. My wife's in the background. She over there shouting, so you know what's going on in my house. But how about this one? So people are upset because they have to wear a mask? Are you kidding me? You think so little of me? Because the mask is not my mask. is to protect you. And your mask is to protect me. And yet you feel it's an infringement on your freedom to have to wear a mask. You think so little of me. You think so little of the folk around you that you don't care who you contaminate as long as you can have your way. Come on. Or how about the fact that if you, Molly, and I, and Jackie would show up at the federal building with automatic weapons, they throw us so far under the jail, it wouldn't even be funny. Yeah. Great. How about a return to a sense of virtue? Why? Because virtue produces character. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we spent some years, and I've said this before, but we spent some years worrying about body cams on police officers. If I know my police officers are of good character, I don't have to worry about a body cam. Yeah. But then obviously we got some problems, right? We could be laying in our beds, sleeping, and the police come right in and kill us.
Say it.
Come on. What happened to character? So how then is character produced? And really it is quite simple. My conservative theist friends are going to have a problem with this, but you know, I'm at the age now I don't have to ask anybody's permission for what I think and what I say. But look, I don't know so much about children being born bad. Remember that the traditional Christian position is that all of us have been born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Well, maybe. Could be the fact that all little boys are born evil. And what I mean by that, if you ever change the diaper on a little boy and you don't cover him, he will urinate on you and laugh. I know I got to witness something. Come on. And yet, so this whole idea of original sin and all of us are born bad, I don't know. How about this one? How about all of us are born neutral? Come on. And the virtues we practice determine our character. Yeah. Let me do it again. I said, what about the fact that maybe all of us are born as a blank slate, neutral, and that we practice certain virtues that determine our character? Come on. How do I get to that? Come on. Watch this. Aristotle says you need two things in order to have good character. First is you got to have a good moral teacher. All right. I'm so glad that churches and pastors around this country didn't get fooled by 45 and say, let's just meet anyhow.
Amen.
Say that. You got to have a good moral teacher. That's not a good moral teacher. No. If you are leading people down the road of destruction, whether you call yourself alt-right or KKK or anti-feminist or anti-lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, it's something's wrong. I don't care if you got 6,000 members. That's right. We need a good moral teacher. And the second thing, we have to adopt a good moral process. If you just give me a few more minutes, let me do it just like this. So the first part of a moral process is an act. You have to do something. Yeah. If you say that you're going to love, you can't just sit and think in your mind and say, I'm a loving person. You have to do something. Yes, you have to show kindness. You got to love justice in a way that you act upon it. Listen, all of us are sick of sentimentality. Yeah. You can stand and cry and do all that you want and still be the same person. How about this one? Because I know y'all holy. I'm still working on mine. But you ever say to yourself, I'm not going to use profanity today. I'm not going to curse today. I'm not going to curse. And then you drive on Providence and somebody cuts you off in traffic. Now you sound like you're speaking in tongues. Character, it starts with an act. I have to do something. Yeah. I have to act friendly. Yeah. I have to be courageous. Yeah. I have to act with a sense of magnanimity. I
Yes.
have to practice it. I have to do it.
That's right. That's right.
Then the second one, from the act comes habit.
Mm.
That if you do it enough,
Yeah.
you act on it enough, suddenly it becomes a habit with you.
Yeah.
It's a habit to say good morning.
Yeah.
It becomes a habit to use inclusive language.
Yeah.
It becomes a habit to think not just about me, but about the we.
Yes.
It becomes a
Yes.
habit in us to be part of you.
Yes.
And thirdly, then it becomes what Aristotle calls character.
Mm.
Yes.
There's just some folk you know you can trust
Come on.
because they've acted on it long enough. It's become habitual with them
Yes.
that it becomes part of their very nature.
Mm.
Yes.
And lastly, then it's
Come on.
arete. Aristotle says arete is an excellence of character. You ever been somewhere and with someone who's so loving that they don't have to say anything, they just walk in the room and you feel it?
Yeah.
Right.
Or you sitting
All
somewhere
right.
listening to someone and they haven't told over 118,000 lives
Come
on the
come
media, but you know that what comes from their mouth is the truth in which they know.
Yes.
Character.
Yeah.
Act, habit, character, arete, excellence of character.
Mm.
Mhm.
Ladies and gentlemen, none of us know what the future holds.
That's right.
We don't know how long the pandemic's gonna hold on.
Yes.
We don't, but we need to know this, that I know character, virtuous character
Come on, baby.
is what you do when nobody else can see you.
Yes. Mm.
Say that.
I think as a country, we need to return to rediscover
Mm.
character.
Mhm.
And with that, I hope this letter finds you well.
All right.
Amen.
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 Thank you so much, Pastor. Amen. And people were trying to shout back at you in the chat. So amen and thank you. Now is the time in our service when we join in one of those habits that we develop as a community, which is the habit of generosity, guiding our hearts away from the fear and scarcity that is all around us, and remembering that it is by sharing and supporting one another that we feel the most human. So this week is one of our regular Faith to Action collections to support the organizations in our community doing important work on behalf of love and service. And those organizations are chosen by our social action team after a nomination process that is actually open now for the coming year. And so we're going to post the link in the chat. If you'd like to nominate an organization to receive one of these offerings, you are very welcome to do so. And today's offering is going to be for the Hickman High School Amnesty International. This is a group who was nominated by George Frizzell, their longtime advisor and mentor. And of course, most of you, I hope all of you know that we recently lost George Frizzell suddenly. And it is in his honor that we take this collection that he nominated for an organization that was beloved to him. So you're going to be able to give at a link in the chat to give online. You'll select Faith to Action as a designated fund when you make that contribution, or you can mail a check to the church with Faith to Action in the memo line. So those are the ways to give to our Faith to Action collection. And now one of George's former students, Eli Byerly Duke, has agreed to join us this morning to say a word about the work of Amnesty and George and introduce our Faith to Action collection. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Eli. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Molly. It's tough to be apart in hard times, and George Frizzell's death makes it even more difficult. At a meeting of his Hickman Amnesty International Club, I once heard a student ask him if what we were doing would actually help the Russian punk band that was the subject of the meeting. They were in prison in Moscow. He actually didn't answer the question at all. He just told us that we should focus on moving our worldview out of central Missouri and into the world, and to think of ourselves as part of a global community. And that whether or not we could actually help them was a silly question and was beside the point. At the time, I don't know how much we got that, but that was really his program. And I did notice at the time that his program was for everyone. His course was a general course that was attended by everyone, basically at the high school. Everybody knew it was fun and not that hard to get a good grade. And your pastor would show up one day to talk to the class, which was really his specialty, was getting interesting guest speakers and having us ask them about the world. And Amnesty was his side project for us, to try and bring us out of Hickman High School in central Missouri and into the world. And, you know, as a 16-year-old, that really worked for me. He brought my politics out of Missouri and into the world, for which I really thank him. And, you know, I'll miss him. I would get lunch with him and his good friend Phil Overeem when I was back in town, and I'm back now, and it's strange that I won't be able to see him. So I think donating to Amnesty is a great way to honor him in his memory, and he sure would thank you for it.
Thank you so much, Eli. Our offering now will be taken as we enjoy a song curated by Jeremy from a choir in California. So please enjoy the music, and we'll post the link again to give generously.
Sing.
Thank you, Jeremy, for finding and sharing that beauty with us this morning. I want to invite you to be sure to join us next week for our Sunday service when our teenagers, our high school YRUU group, is going to be offering the service. They're going to be talking with us about what it means to complicate the idea of being an ally and try to become instead an accomplice or even a co-conspirator for justice. So we don't want to miss that. Please do join us next week. Thank you, Reverend Dr. Dawson, for gifting us a sermon today, and we can't wait to join you for class starting this Tuesday, everybody. This Tuesday, look out for an email with the link to join that class, the Zoom link, and let us all go into our week with love and with the kinds of habits that will build excellence of character. I end with these words from the Reverend Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. But take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Especially now, you are not alone. We are with you across the distance. So go in blessing, beloved ones, and be a blessing to a world that needs your care. Let us sing the benediction that we sing every week and have for years as Jeremy leads us in singing. I invite you to join hands with someone in your home or put your hand over your heart as we do in our in-person gatherings and sing this blessing.
Now on leaving one another, may we give of hand and heart.